Chosen one, stop for a moment and listen closely. Something you said before is moving through the minds of other people again. You may have almost forgotten the moment, but they have not. A sentence you spoke, a warning you gave, or a truth you noticed is making sense to them now, and that is why your name keeps coming up. You remember how it felt when you first said it. The room changed the moment those words left you. Someone looked away instead of answering you directly. Someone laughed softly to make the discomfort seem harmless. Someone acted like you were reading too much into things. And even though you felt something inside you saying the pattern was real, their reaction made you wonder if you had gone too far. So, you became quieter than anyone around you expected. You stopped repeating the warning you had already given. You stopped trying to convince people who had already decided not to listen. But deep inside, one question stayed painfully alive. What if I was not wrong after all? What if I had simply seen it early? That question has followed you longer than you admit, because being ignored can make even a clear mind doubt itself. Now, something around that old moment has shifted. A situation has developed in the exact direction you once sensed. A person who dismissed your words may be asking different questions now. Another person may be repeating an idea that sounds strangely close to what you said first. The evidence is arriving later, but it is arriving with enough weight to make them remember you. That is the part you need to notice. They are not only remembering the event anymore, they are remembering the person who named the pattern before it became obvious. And that creates a different kind of tension, because people can forget advice, but they rarely forget the moment when someone saw clearly what they were not ready to face. Chosen one. This is where the story goes deeper. You may think everyone is talking because they finally realized you were right, but that is only the visible surface. The stronger question is why your words stayed with them at all. Why did one simple statement keep echoing inside people who acted like it meant nothing? You have probably lived through this more than once. You notice a change in the tone of someone before anyone else does. You sense when a connection is becoming unstable. You recognize when a plan looks good on the surface but carries something underneath that does not feel complete. Then you speak, and the people around you treat your clarity like discomfort. After enough moments like that, you learn to edit yourself. You wait longer now before deciding to speak. You soften the truth before anyone can reject it. Sometimes you say nothing because you already know how exhausting it feels to explain what you can sense but cannot yet prove. And that silence can protect your peace, but it can also make you question your own inner clarity. That is one of the deepest wounds here. It is not simply that other people did not believe you. It is that their disbelief trained you to hesitate before believing yourself. You began checking your own perception through the eyes of people who were not seeing what you were seeing, and that slowly weakened the confidence you once carried naturally. But now reality is putting pressure on the old story. The thing you noticed is finally becoming visible. The pattern you named is becoming easier for others to see. And suddenly, the same people who made you feel uncertain are trying to understand how you noticed it first. They may never say it directly, but their questions reveal more than their words do. Do not rush back just to correct them. Do not rush forward just to claim the moment. There is something more important happening than being able to say, "You were right." Their behavior is revealing that your words left an imprint before the evidence arrived. And now, the evidence is forcing them to revisit what they once rejected. This does not mean every feeling is a prophecy. It does not mean every thought must be treated as a warning from heaven. True wisdom has always been quieter than that. Real discernment does not need drama to feel powerful, because its strength comes from attention, patience, and the willingness to notice what other people overlook while they are distracted. That mixture of relief and sadness matters deeply. It explains why this moment is not simple victory. You are not standing at the end of an argument. You are standing at the beginning of a new relationship with your own perception. The real shift is not that they are talking now. The real shift is that you are starting to understand what your voice means to you. If you have ever watched something you sensed early become obvious later, write clarity below. Let that word mark a decision to stay grounded, not proud. You do not need to force anyone to agree with you. You only need to become honest about the moments when you knew something was changing before the room was ready to admit it. And now I want you to remember one specific moment, not 10 different moments. Choose just one conversation that still feels unfinished in your mind. What did you actually say in that moment? How did they react when they heard you? What changed afterward that made you remember it? Hold that memory gently, because before this message is over, you are going to see that moment from a very different angle. That is why your name may be surfacing now. Not because everyone suddenly decided to support you, not because every person is secretly obsessed with you, but because reality has created a connection between what happened and what you once said, and the human mind naturally returns to the person who named a pattern before it became obvious. Chosen one, stay steady as you hear this. This is where pride can distort something valuable. You are not being invited to celebrate the confusion of someone else. You are being invited to understand the responsibility that comes with seeing clearly. A strong voice is not measured by how many people it defeats, but by how wisely it chooses when to speak. What matters is what the pattern teaches you now. You do not need permission to observe carefully. You do not need applause before you trust a clear warning. You also do not need to turn every instinct into a public declaration. The mature path is quieter, and it asks you to hold clarity with humility instead of turning it into a weapon. Because the deepest impact of your words was never created by volume. The deepest reason was always hidden inside the timing. You said something before the evidence was easy. You touched a subject before the room had language for it. And even if they rejected the message then, they remembered enough of it for the memory to return when reality finally caught up. That is why the next part matters so much. They are not only remembering what you said, they are trying to understand how you saw it before they did. And once you understand why that happens, you will see that the real lesson is not about proving the past. It is about learning how to carry your clarity without losing your peace. Chosen one, now we need to separate two things that people often confuse. Seeing a pattern early is not the same as being right about everything. Real discernment stays humble. It watches carefully, tests what it notices, and waits for reality to reveal more. That is why strong people do not need to announce every instinct the moment it appears. You may have learned this through painful experience. When others dismissed you before, you probably felt pressure to explain more, prove more, and speak louder. But clarity does not become stronger because you defend it harder. Sometimes the wisest move is to say what needs to be said once, then let time show whether the pattern was real. There is another layer here, because clear thinking becomes harder when your mind is overloaded. Stress, constant noise, and endless second-guessing can make simple decisions feel uncertain. That is why some people use tools that help them slow down and focus before deciding what deserves their attention. One resource mentioned in the material behind this message is called the Genius Song. It is a 7-minute audio designed around brain entrainment and gamma-focused listening, with the goal of supporting a calmer and more focused mental state. It is not a replacement for judgment, patience, prayer, or careful thinking. If you are curious, you can examine it later through the official link in the description or pinned comment. There is no need to interrupt this message right now. Keep listening first, because the more important point is learning how to recognize the difference between a grounded pattern and a reaction created by fear, pressure, or old wounds. That difference changes everything. When you are desperate to be believed, every disagreement feels personal. When you are grounded, disagreement becomes information. You can listen without surrendering your own perception, and you can stay open without abandoning the quiet signal that first made you pay attention. Think again about the moment you remembered earlier. Maybe you noticed someone pulling away before they admitted it. Maybe you sensed that a plan had a hidden weakness. Maybe you warned that a situation would become more complicated if nobody changed course. At the time, your words sounded inconvenient because people usually prefer comfort before consequence. Then time moved forward. Details began connecting. Small signs became harder to ignore. The person who brushed you off started asking different questions. The group that thought you were overthinking became more cautious, and without anyone announcing it, the meaning of that old conversation began changing in their minds. This is why timing matters more than prediction. A message can be accurate and still be rejected when people are emotionally unprepared for it. They may not have enough evidence yet. They may be protecting a hope they are not ready to release. Or they may simply dislike what your observation would require them to change. So they resist the messenger instead. That response is easier than facing the message. If they can label you as dramatic, negative, or too sensitive, they do not have to examine the possibility that you noticed something real. And for a while, that strategy can make you question yourself more than it makes them question the situation. Chosen one, this is where your identity begins to mature. A watchman does not stand on the wall to be applauded. A watchman pays attention because attention carries responsibility. A seer does not need to turn every observation into a performance. The deeper calling is to notice clearly, speak wisely, and release the need to control what others do next. In the past, you may have felt responsible for making everyone understand. If someone ignored your warning, you kept explaining. If they doubted your motive, you defended your heart. If they mocked your concern, you replayed the conversation later and searched for better words. But some people were never missing better words. They were missing readiness. That truth can free you. It means your failure to convince them was not always proof that you communicated badly. Sometimes you were speaking to someone who could only understand the lesson after living through enough of the consequence to become open. This is where conversations begin, but not always for the reason fear suggests. People compare memories. One person asks what you said exactly. Another remembers a detail everyone ignored. Someone else wonders whether you noticed more than you explained. Your name becomes attached to the moment when the pattern first became visible. Do not let that possibility pull you into fantasy. You do not need to imagine secret meetings or assume everyone is discussing you. Stay grounded. The meaningful point is simpler. When people realize that an earlier warning matched later events, they naturally reconsider both the warning and the person who gave it. And there is a reason your words may have stayed with them. You spoke before the outcome, made agreement easy. Anybody can sound wise after the result is obvious. It takes more awareness to name a concern while everyone else is still comfortable. That does not make you perfect. It simply means there are moments when you notice shifts earlier than others. The next temptation is to use that awareness as proof of superiority. Resist it. Pride can destroy the clarity that helped you see well in the first place. The moment you become obsessed with being the smartest person in the room, you stop listening. And when you stop listening, discernment becomes assumption. Your strength is not that you always know. Your strength is that you are willing to notice. You can observe tone, behavior, timing, inconsistency, and patterns without forcing a conclusion too quickly. You can hold a possibility quietly while more evidence arrives. That kind of patience protects you from both self-doubt and false certainty. And if people are now remembering what you said, let them remember. You do not need to chase the conversation. You do not need to reopen old arguments or remind anyone of the exact moment you warned them. If the truth has become visible, it does not need your pressure to stay visible. There is something more important underneath this. The sentence they remember may not have been powerful only because it was accurate. It may have been powerful because it touched the exact place they were avoiding. That is why it stayed. That is why it bothered them. And that is why it returned when circumstances made it harder to ignore. Soon you are going to understand why certain words remain in a person long after a conversation ends. You will also see why some people remember the messenger only after they finally understand the message. But first, hold on to this one thought. Timing mattered more than prediction, and your next lesson is learning what that timing was trying to teach you. Chosen one. There is a reason certain words stay in the mind long after the conversation ends. People may reject a message with their mouth while carrying it quietly in memory. They can laugh, change the subject, or act untouched. But if your words reached a truth they were avoiding, the mind can hold that moment until reality gives it new meaning. This is why some conversations return later with force. They became powerful because events gave context to what people could not understand before. What sounded uncomfortable in one season can sound obvious in another, and that change can alter how they remember you. Think about Joseph in the Bible. Before his life made sense to the people around him, his dreams sounded impossible and threatening. His brothers did not celebrate what he saw. They reacted to the meaning it seemed to carry. Much later, circumstances changed, and the person they had dismissed became connected to the help they needed. The lesson is not that you are Joseph, or that every dream is a divine forecast. The lesson is that truth is often judged differently before and after evidence arrives. People can reject an idea because it challenges their current view, then revisit it when life forces them to look again. That shift can make the original messenger unforgettable. You may have experienced a smaller version of this. You noticed where a friendship was heading. You sensed weakness inside a plan. You saw that somebody was making promises their behavior could not support. You tried to say it carefully, but the room was committed to another story, so your concern felt like an interruption instead of wisdom. Then something changed. The behavior became clearer. The plans started cracking. The relationship revealed what had been hidden. Suddenly, people could see what you had been pointing toward. And now the old sentence returns, because your words were attached to the moment before certainty arrived. That is why people sometimes remember the exact tone you used. They remember the uncomfortable pause after you spoke. Human memory grows stronger around emotion, especially when a later event makes an old moment feel important again. So one person says you mentioned it before, another asks what you actually said, and your name becomes connected to one question. How did you notice it so early? If this message is helping you understand something you once doubted, share it with someone who has also struggled to trust their own perception. Let the message reach the person who may need permission to slow down, observe carefully, and stop confusing outside approval with inner clarity. But there is a danger here. Once you realize you were right about something important, an old wound can wake up and demand payment. It can whisper that now is your chance to make everyone admit what they did to you. It can tempt you to reopen every conversation and collect every apology you never received. Do not move too quickly. Being proven right can become a new trap if you use truth to feed an old need for validation. The mistake is subtle because it can feel like justice while quietly stealing your peace. You need to see it clearly because strong people can lose their balance after confirmation arrives. Notice what happens inside you when someone comes back and says, "You were right." At first, there is relief. Then there may be anger. You remember how lonely it felt to be dismissed. You remember the nights you questioned yourself. And suddenly, one confirmation becomes connected to older moments when nobody trusted your judgment. This is why vindication can be emotionally dangerous. It does not only answer the present question, it can activate the memory of every time you felt unseen. If you are not careful, you may ask one apology to heal 10 different wounds, and no person can carry that weight for you. The mature chosen one learns another way. You receive confirmation without worshipping it. You allow evidence to strengthen your discernment, but you do not make agreement the source of your identity. You can appreciate being understood and still remain free if understanding comes late, comes partially, or never comes at all. That distinction protects you. It allows you to say, "I noticed something," without saying, "I can never be wrong." It allows you to trust your perception while still checking facts. It allows faith and humility to exist together, and that balance is stronger than either blind doubt or blind certainty. Now return to the conversation you chose earlier. Ask what part of your words stayed with them. Was it the warning itself? Was it the calm way you said it? Was it the fact that you noticed a pattern before anyone wanted to admit it? Your influence may be connected less to prediction and more to the courage to name what others were avoiding. This is where your identity as a watchman becomes useful. A watchman does not create the danger. A watchman notices what is approaching. A watchman does not need to control every response after the warning is given. The responsibility is attention, honesty, and timing, not ownership of every outcome. And if you carry the identity of a seer, carry it carefully. Let it make you more observant, not more arrogant. Let it make you slower to speak, not quicker to declare. Let it make you more willing to pray, reflect, and test what you sense before turning an impression into a conclusion. Because the real authority you are developing is not loud. It does not depend on people calling you gifted. It becomes visible in the quality of your decisions, the steadiness of your presence, and the way you remain clear when emotion tries to pull you into extremes. You are beginning to see why your words left a deep impact. They touched a truth before people had enough evidence to accept it. They became a marker in memory. Later, when circumstances changed, that marker lit up again. And once that happened, people could not look at the old conversation in the same way. But the most important part has not happened yet. Their recognition is not the climax. Their conversation about you is not the climax. Even their apology would not be the climax. The deeper turning point arrives when you stop using their response as permission to trust the clarity that was already growing inside you. That is the dangerous mistake I warned you about. After being proven right, you can become addicted to being recognized. You can start checking who finally agrees. You can replay old victories. You can quietly hope more people fail so your warning looks stronger. And without noticing it, the desire for truth can become the desire to feel superior. Chosen one, do not trade one prison for another. You escaped the prison of self-doubt. Do not enter the prison of needing applause. The next stage of your growth asks for something harder and cleaner. It asks you to let truth be enough, even when nobody gives you the emotional ceremony you once believed you needed. Soon you are going to face the hidden agreement beneath all of this. It is the belief that says you can only trust yourself when other people finally admit you were right. That belief has shaped more of your pain than you realize. And when it breaks, the conversations around your name will lose the power to control how you see yourself. Chosen one, now you are standing where this story becomes personal. The question is no longer whether people remember what you said. The question is whether their recognition will free you or whether you will use it to reopen every wound that taught you to doubt yourself. There is a hidden agreement many strong people carry for years. It sounds reasonable at first. I can trust myself when they finally admit I was right. But that agreement places your confidence inside another person's hands, because your peace then depends on someone else becoming honest about what they refuse to see. You may have waited for that moment without realizing it. You imagined the apology. You imagined someone returning and admitting that you saw the situation more clearly. Part of you believed recognition would erase the loneliness. But recognition cannot rewrite the past. It can confirm one moment, but it cannot return every night you spent questioning your judgment. If you ask one apology to carry years of pain, even sincere words may never feel like enough. This is why the climax is not their confession, it is your release. The deepest impact of your words came from touching something real before people were ready to face it. Reality did not create that truth later. Reality simply made avoidance harder, and that is why the old conversation returned with new weight. Hear this carefully. Your reward is not their apology. Your reward is that you no longer need it. You can appreciate accountability when it comes, but you do not have to wait for it before moving forward. You can receive confirmation without making it the foundation of your identity. That is what maturity looks like for a chosen one. You remain open to correction because humility protects discernment. When something becomes clear, you speak honestly and release the outcome afterward. This is the lesson in plain language. The pain grew because other people's doubt slowly became a voice inside your own mind. What changes now is your relationship with clarity, because you can test what you sense without surrendering it to fear. And this next step is for someone seeking steadiness, not superiority. Earlier, I mentioned a listening tool connected to focus and mental clarity. Now you can understand why it belongs here. When your mind has spent years replaying conversations and questioning every signal, the problem is not always lack of intelligence. Sometimes the burden is mental noise. The resource is called the genius song. According to the material behind it, this 7-minute audio was developed around brain entrainment and gamma-focused listening. The product presents gamma activity as connected with attention, insight, and focused mental processing. That does not mean an audio track makes every intuition correct, and it should never replace careful judgment. Dr. Robert Lake is presented as its developer, with 34 years of experience. The product material also points to research associated with MIT, Princeton, and Harvard when discussing gamma activity. Those references are part of the product's explanation for the audio. The intention is simple. You are not trying to predict everything. You are trying to become quieter inside, so fear and old rejection do not compete with every decision. More mental space can help you observe, reflect, pray, and decide without rushing toward doubt or certainty. Use headphones and listen for 7 minutes. The material suggests making it a daily practice. You do not need a complicated ritual. You simply create a short period where your attention is not being pulled in 10 directions at once. The product material says 18,366 people have used it, and it reports that fewer than 4% requested refunds. Those figures come from the product materials themselves. Treat them as product claims while you decide whether the resource fits you. The original listed price is $49. The access described here is $39 as a one-time payment. Along with the main audio, the package includes 4 extra resources with a combined stated value of $80. One is Genius Child, listed at $19. Another is a classic book resource, valued at $20. There is also a guided visualization, valued at $29, plus a 5-habit infographic, valued at $12. Together, those 4 bonuses are presented as $80 in added value. There is also a 90-day guarantee described in the offer. If the main audio is not right for you, the material says you can request a full refund during that period. It also says you may keep all 4 bonuses after the refund, so trying the resource does not mean losing those materials. There is no reason to pretend a digital audio file is running out. It is not. The real question is whether scattered attention and constant second-guessing are patterns you want to keep repeating. That is an identity decision. Do not decide from pressure, decide from fit. If your next season requires more disciplined attention and less mental clutter, this may be worth examining. If not, keep using grounded practices that already help you stay clear. One practical warning matters. If you decide to look for it, use only the official link provided with this message. The product material warns that unofficial copies may not be the same audio or may not include the original package. Use the description or pinned comment to review the official offer. Now, take one slow breath. Let your shoulders relax. Do not ask whether $39 proves anything about who you are. Ask whether you are willing to support the clarity, discipline, and inner steadiness you say you want, through this tool or through another grounded practice you trust. If the answer is yes, you can review the Genius Song through the official link in the description or pinned comment. Read the details for yourself. Use your judgment. The greater decision is already here. You are deciding whether you will keep outsourcing confidence to people who once misunderstood you. That pattern must end. Their recognition can be meaningful, but it cannot become your oxygen. Their apology can be welcome, but it cannot become permission for your next chapter. Chosen one. Your earlier words affected them because they eventually collided with reality. But the words you speak to yourself now will shape whether you look backward for confirmation or move forward with quiet authority. You do not need to become harder. You need to become steadier. You do not need to prove that your discernment is supernatural. You need to become responsible with what you notice. And you do not need every person who doubted you to return. Let this truth settle deeply. The conversation about your name is not your destination. The recognition of your words is not your crown. The real breakthrough is freedom from the need to control how other people remember you. That is when the watchman becomes peaceful. That is when the seer becomes grounded. That is when the chosen one stops chasing the room and starts walking with conviction. You can notice, you can test, you can speak, then you can release, because truth does not need you standing beside it forever. Chosen one, now that the truth has settled, you do not need to rush anywhere. You do not need to call anyone or reopen an old conversation just to make the ending feel complete. The deepest shift is already happening inside you, because you are learning that clarity can remain steady even when recognition arrives late. There is power in that kind of peace. It does not need witnesses. It does not need a room full of people admitting they misunderstood you. You can let them talk without entering every conversation where your name appears, because your life does not become more true when more people agree with it. Quiet confidence carries its own evidence. From this point forward, your posture changes. You speak less from urgency and more from wisdom. You observe before reacting. You stop explaining yourself to people who have already chosen their conclusion. And when something feels important, you give it time, prayer, reflection, and honest examination before deciding whether it needs your voice. That does not make you passive. It makes you disciplined. A watchman who reacts to every movement becomes exhausted. A seer who turns every impression into certainty loses accuracy. But a grounded chosen one knows how to hold awareness without fear, and how to wait until words can serve the moment instead of serving the ego. You may notice people treating you differently now. Someone may listen more carefully when you speak. Someone may return with questions they never asked before. Someone may become quieter around you because they remember what happened the last time they dismissed your concern. Let those changes happen without trying to manage them. If someone comes back and admits you were right, receive it with grace. You do not need to say, "I told you so." You do not need to collect emotional interest on an old debt. You can simply acknowledge the moment and move forward, because the strongest proof that you healed is not a perfect speech. It is the absence of the need to punish. That is where your future begins to look different. You become more selective with your words. You stop giving sacred energy to every argument. You stop trying to rescue people from consequences they insist on choosing. And when you sense something is changing, you ask a better question. Is this mine to speak about, or mine to observe? Chosen one, you are being invited into quiet authority now. Quiet authority does not chase attention. It does not need to prove that it noticed first. It remains calm when other people finally catch up, because it was never built on being ahead of them. It was built on staying honest with what was clear while remaining open to correction. This matters because your discernment should make you more humble, not less. The clearer you become, the more carefully you should handle certainty. You can be deeply convinced and still say, "I may need more information." You can trust what you notice and still remain teachable. That balance keeps your gift from becoming another form of pride. Give truth room to breathe. Let facts develop. Let character reveal itself. Let patterns repeat before you name them too quickly. You do not lose power by waiting. Often, waiting is what separates discernment from impulse. And the more patient you become, the less you will need dramatic confirmation to trust that you can make a wise decision. That is the transformation. You began with a wound that asked why nobody believed you. You moved through the relief of being remembered. You faced the temptation to demand recognition. And now you arrive at a cleaner place. You can trust your discernment while staying humble, patient, and free from the need to prove anything. Let that become your standard. Not perfection, not constant certainty, not a life where every instinct becomes correct. Your standard is grounded clarity. You notice what is real. You test what you sense. You speak when wisdom calls for speech. Then you release the outcome without chasing agreement from people who still see things differently. This is how you protect your peace. You stop monitoring who finally understands. You stop checking whether your name is being mentioned. You stop replaying the conversation to extract one more moment of validation. Every time you release that habit, you recover attention that belongs to your future instead of your past. And your future needs that attention. There are decisions ahead that deserve a clear mind. There are relationships that deserve a healthier version of your voice. There are opportunities that will require patience instead of proving. You cannot keep carrying every old room into every new door, because the next chapter is not asking you to defend the last one. Chosen one, you are allowed to outgrow the version of yourself that needed everybody to understand. That version survived by explaining, defending, and anticipating rejection. Honor what it carried, but do not let it lead forever. You can become someone who trusts truth enough to leave certain misunderstandings unanswered. And if nobody returns, your growth is still real. This message does not fail because an apology never appears. Your freedom cannot depend on a scene that may never happen. The closure you need is not hidden inside someone else. It begins when you stop asking the past to give you permission to become peaceful. So release the courtroom inside your mind. Release the imaginary conversations. Release the speech where everyone finally understands how much their disbelief hurt you. You do not have to keep rehearsing justice to move forward. What happened can be acknowledged without becoming the place where your identity stays trapped. If that is the decision you are making, write clarity below. Let it mark a boundary with the old pattern. You will not abandon discernment because someone doubts you. You will also not worship discernment because someone praises you. You will remain grounded between those two extremes. Chosen one, may your mind become quieter. May your judgment become wiser. May your heart remain soft without becoming easily controlled. May you recognize what deserves your attention and release what does not. May you have courage when it is time to speak, and peace when silence is the better answer. You do not need to know every conversation happening around your name. You do not need to hear every opinion. You do not need to defend yourself inside rooms you never entered. The people who truly want to understand you will learn through time, consistency, and honest relationship. Everyone else can keep their version until life teaches them differently. What you said left an impact because it touched something they were not ready to face, but what you do next will leave an even deeper impact. Walk without bitterness, speak without desperation, observe without paranoia, trust without arrogance. That is how a chosen one turns discernment into wisdom, instead of turning it into another wound. You have nothing left to chase in the old room. Take the lesson, keep the humility, protect the clarity, then move forward. The strongest version of you is not the one who finally wins the argument. It is the one who no longer needs the argument to know where to place the next step.